Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here, Basketball Rewind, it's draft season. We are going to talk about Rob Dillingham today. Coach is going to lead us off in that discussion to talk a little bit about Rob's background. So, Coach, lead us off. I hope everyone is enjoying themselves today. Like, comment, and subscribe on your way in or on your way out if you like this type of content, because again, we're going to be covering a lot of the 2024 draft prospects this year. Coach.
So Rob Dillingham, he's listed at 6'3". Now, the overtime elite, I think he might have played in that league, listed him as 6'1". So he's definitely not 6'3". Most NBA guys are always listed much higher than what they actually are. So I'm going to say he's about a 6'1" point guard, 175 pounds, plays at the guard factory of the NBA, which is the Kentucky Wildcats. They produce Maxey, Quickly, Booker, De'Aaron Fox. They just know how to produce guards and combo guards. And Dillingham's listed as a point guard. To me, he is a combo guard. He is the new age combo guard, more or less. The old style point guard, the Chris Pauls of the world, that's gone, or it's very few of them left. But he's part of that new age point guard, combo guard look. He was listed as number 15 on the ESPN 100 for his high school team in 2023. As a high schooler, I should say, he was number 15. And he's a highly touted prospect. He's going to probably go in the top 10, possibly top 6 or 7 in this draft. And he's got some NBA talent, certainly. I think there's a lot of good shot creation with him. And he's going to remind you of some of the Kentucky guards are already in the league. He's got a little bit of Maxey. He's got a little bit of Emmanuel Quickly. I can make an argument. He might have a little bit more of Quickly than he does Maxey. I just don't know if he's as fast going up and down the court as a Maxey. But Dillingham, he's legit. You're looking at a top 6, top 10 prospect, certainly, in next year's draft.
Yeah, it's really interesting watching him play because you could definitely see the speed is there, but like you said, we don't know how it compares to an NBA speed. What I will say is that he's really grown from Overtime Elite as well as the Donda Academy, which he played at before the Overtime Elite in terms of things like his playmaking and whatnot. I think out of the pick and roll, he used to only pass under 50% of the time, and now he's up to around 60%. So you've seen growth in his game in terms of as a playmaker. He definitely is that combo guard. I do have some concerns. We will get into them shortly, but I think overall it's positives. I first noticed him watching the Reed Shepherd stuff, which will come out before this one comes out. I kept seeing Reed, but I was like, who's this other guy? And I was like, this other guy has some talent to him. I'm like, in terms of what you want on the Raptors this year from like if you were to draft a guard, Rob Dillingham is probably closer outside of my concern to what you probably want or need out of a potential guard on this future. Because I don't, as much as I know we will re-sign Emmanuel Quickly, I don't know if 3-4 years down the line, if Quickly is what you need, right? Or if Quickly is able to become the player that you need long term. But we will see. And so I think Rob Dillingham, he has just a little bit of oomph to his game, a little bit of zest that he could put on to, the court. And I think if we just jump into the offensive side, he's a hooper. He can create his own shot. And I think there's one thing to say is that he went from being, I think on the Overtime Elite, he shot under 20% on catch and shoots. I think if I look at his overall 3-point shots. Now I can't see the catch and shoots versus, pull-ups, but I know right now he's shooting above 45%. Now that's overshadowed by Reed Shepherd, who's obviously putting 50, 50, and 80. But this kid's putting up, Rob, that is, I think 48.8% from the field, which is above 50% from 2, and he's shooting 45.2% from 3. So he's definitely able to shoot now, and his mechanics look good. He's definitely, scoring at a really high rate this year. And, for his first year in Kansas, obviously Kentucky runs a guard rotation, which is almost like a hockey rotation, where they'll put out like, two guards and then another two guards and then another two guards, and just keeps the rotation fresh throughout the game, which is really interesting. So, the numbers are never going to be, he's never going to be putting up like 30, 40 points as a guard, but there is still skills there. And then for that reason, because of Kentucky's how they manage their guard rotations, there's usually a little bit more that's unlocked later on at the NBA level. Beyond, your thoughts?
Um, but since we're starting in the offense, yeah, it's
I
funny
did that
because
on purpose.
that's okay. No, coach had mentioned IQ in this case here. That's who I kept thinking of as I was kind of, I've been watching him. It's funny. My introduction to him was this strange because I watched some of his highlights and stuff like that. My dad's a big Kentucky fan, so I watch it a little bit. I go by my parents' house and he's watching Kentucky, and it's like, okay, you can play. The first time I really focused on him and was just by pure accident. I happened to be watching North Carolina Duke. The second game that day was Tennessee Kentucky. And I was jumping between that and the NBA game that was going on. I think it was Laker Knicks. But if you know in this case here, you're a college fan, you know what happened that day. Mr. Dillingham went off for 35 that night, and my goodness, I mean, the stroke was pure. The thing with Dillingham, what I kind of like about it, I know some people are going to hate about him a lot. It warms my heart a little bit. He's kind of an old school type of player in a sense where it's like, he's going to get his shots anywhere. He's going to pull up for the midi, a little cross or a pull up step back. It's like, it makes my heart all warm and fuzzy inside seeing that. It's like, oh my gosh. He's just not trying to get layups and threes all day long. He actually has some imagination to his game. What a shot. It's so fun to watch. He's got a little sauce to it. Of all the guys we've talked about so far in this draft discussion, he's the one that pops the most. Like when he's going, your eyes will, you're just mesmerized to watch him when he's got going. What type of player that means he'll be in the NBA? I mean, the size, you know me already, man. My rule is I'm not a big small guard guy. I'm saying already. I don't say they don't have a use, but in this case, when it gets the money making time and it gets the spring, those guys get exposed a little bit, and I get a little concerned about that. Second thing is, the true shooting percentage around 55, 56 or something, or 54. That's all right, but it's still college. What does that look like when you get the NBA? If it's at that percentage right now. The 3-point stroke is pretty solid. Can't knock that. He's got a pretty decent mid-range game. He does go with the floater a bit, but he does have a step back, which IQ does not have. So that's a big difference between the two of them, which is good to see from that perspective because, once guys start sitting on your floater, that's a hard way to make a living. As a starter in the NBA, as we're seeing, there's only so many Trae Youngs around here. It could be floating for 18 feet. You hear some people say Trae Young. He's like, no, man, he ain't Trae Young. He ain't got the vision like that. I say it right now. He can pass. He can make some plays, but he's kind of like he's a bit like he's like the excuse me type passer. Like he ain't going in there to pass. Is it the rotation comes up on the double? Like, oh, I see a man there in the dunker spot, I'll drop it off to him. As I said, Allen Iverson, excuse me, I'm gonna get 6 assists this way. He ain't never going there and think I'm gonna set up a guy. That's not my feeling when I watch Dillingham.
So our concerns are really the same, which is it's his height, right? I think. I mean, he went to Duke instead, but like Kyrie is a short guard who's made a living, but Kyrie is Kyrie,
right? Right.
Yeah. I will say in Rob's defense, though, he is probably of all the prospects that we've looked so far. Obviously, some of them are big men and stuff, but he has some of the best handles I've seen.
No, there's no two ways. Like, that's what I say. His game is eye popping, and it's like pretty much is like. It's like if you're looking to pull out, that Ferrari out the block, that's what you want in this case here. And it ain't no Pinto or nothing like that when you see here. But my point is that to your point, the 6'1" is one problem, but it's also, man, it's a slim 6'1". It ain't like some of the guys I talk to. Brunson's a perfect example. Brunson's only about an inch taller probably, but Brunson's built like a Mack truck, right? Like, man, Brunson's offensive game is punishing. That he is gonna make you feel it every time he comes in there. With that, 200 plus frame at 6'2". that ain't this with this guy. He says 175, barely soaking wet. Like, I ain't sure even if he eats a few more ground provisions, he can get much more than maybe 190 at best. Like, ain't like you just taking a stick on him. That concerns me.
I mean, if you think
Yeah.
about just Raptors in the past, as just a good example with Lowry. Lowry was not 6'1", he's maybe 6 feet at best, but at the same time, Lowry had like the body to be able to absorb that contact. And then he'd actually even use his body to make the contact. And then kind of like he'd be leaning at times, like almost like this at a 45-degree angle to create that space. Rob Dillingham has some incredible finishes through contact, but it's still at the college level. And all of these guys look big, and then all of a sudden you see them at summer league, and it's like they look small, right?
Mhm.
It's like Jordan Hawkins tape last year, and I saw him, and I was like, this dude's like 6'3", maybe 6'2", 6'3", and you saw him at the All Star Rising Stars, and it's like this guy is tiny. And so I agree with you. He has the hops. He really gets up. Like
Yeah.
he could put on the Jets and afterburner for sure, but that size might come back to bite him on both ends. Coach, you have any final thoughts as well?
Well, I'm just comparing him to Maxine quickly when they were at Kentucky as well. Now,
Hmm.
quickly, I'm looking at his sophomore year, but Dillingham, I can make an argument, is a better player than they were right now. Field goal percentage is a lot better. His is like 49%. There's that best was 42%. That's Maxi. He's a better 3-point shooter than they were. Now, that could be just the way that people view the 3-point shot in the last couple of years. That's certainly changed. True shooting is better for him. Um, he certainly has a bigger impact in terms of offensive win shares and his PER actually. So probably by the season's end, you'll be able to say Dillingham was a better college player than those guys were. And I mean, those guys certainly pretty good college players out of Kentucky. Dillingham, I think when I watch him play, I think he'll probably be a better finisher than Quickly at the next level. That's the one thing Quickly's really going to try to work on because I think Dillingham's a better athlete than he is. But once again, like kind of like Beyond said, do you want to do if you're the Raptors, do you want two small guards moving forward? I'll just put I'm not losing any sleep if we were to select Dillingham. If we kept our pick, I just don't think he is a need for this team's front court help big time. But when you have 2 point guards like Quickly and Dillingham, you're going to similarly get the same player. It's redundancy, but probably the redundancy you don't mind. Not to have a bunch of guys with the same skills, not to have 7 guys same size with the same skill set. You'd be having 2 guys with the same similar skill sets, I should say, who will definitely be able to impact your team offensively. Defensively, that's another story.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue because boy,
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to look like defensively in the NBA because, like you said, he's about 175 pounds, 6'1", and defensively, that's tough. Unless you're going to be, like you said, a Jalen Brunson, a Chris Paul, a Kyle Lowry, who's
yeah,
able to use their body more and be able to switch off on bigger guys on defense. Those guys just have the weight to do so. None of these guys, and when I say none of these guys, I mean Dillingham, Reed Shepard, Quickly, none of those guys can do that. So
Well,
that's why
also
I'm not
just
as high on.
Villanova prospects in general. You know,
Oh,
they
they're
have
tough.
some sort of grit to them on both ends of the ball, where it's like, what is going on with these guys? Shout out to obviously Cam Whitmore as well this year, but of course, Kyle Lowry and others. Um, yeah, I mean, defensively, I'm obviously not going to talk about him like he's Ryan Dunn, right? Like, he's not some defensive prodigy here. But at the same time, he's very much a Kentucky guard in that way, where like the Kentucky guards that have come out, they're not always the best defenders, but man, they can hoop. So,
They're a safe bet. That's what they are in the NBA. They're a
yeah,
safe bet, and if you select them,
yes,
you know you're going to get something from them. It doesn't mean they're going to get Defensive Player of the Year, but you're definitely going to get offense because
for
all the
sure.
guys that Kentucky pumps out in terms of guards, Maxi, Quickly, Booker, Fox, Reed Shepard probably could be pretty good offensive player at the next level, and I suspect Dillingham will as well. Defensively, With any of those guys that I mentioned, any of those guys stand out defensively, like the Bookers or the Maxis or
No,
Fox? No,
Booker's gotten better.
Booker's gotten better, but Booker's 6'4" and only 200.
he's the biggest that I've
Yeah,
mentioned.
like
Yeah.
I think the question is like, what type of role will a guy like him have? Right? Is he going to be like quickly or a Maxi type of guy? Which I don't think so quite. But is he going to be more like Lou Williams, for example? He's just a guy of a heat check off the bench.
Yep.
Like that's a slim dude about the same type of frame. Played a ton of years, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Obviously has a lot in his bag. We know that, but
Yes.
and so, but also defensive liability. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that makes of it. And defensively, man, like some of the stuff I was watching, I mean, whoo,
Well, a couple games ago, both him and Reed were just getting roasted. I can't remember who against, but
just
like
last
both of
night
them.
against Alabama, they had 3
Yeah.
fouls before the half was done in this case here, man. Like Calipari's he was whipping them in like turnstiles, man, trying to figure out how many you keep on the floor, between the two of them and Wagner. He was trying to figure out something. But they still. I mean, fortunately, they blew him out pretty much by the second, by the half. So it wasn't really that much of an issue. But in the March Madness, that foul trouble is going to be an issue for Kentucky. That's a whole other thing. We'll do that for the college podcast. We'll get that another time. But but I think with him, I am concerned about not even the on ball stuff. I think he looks pretty decent there. It's the off ball stuff,
You
man.
think he gets lost a bit?
Lost, man, badly, man. Badly. So that's concerning.
Yeah, I mean, again, there's not much to talk about in terms of his defense, in terms of trying to boost him up, and so that's kind of
where
why.
do you see him going? I mean, right now, some people have him as high as 10. Some folks have him as low as 20. Like it seems like he'd be anywhere in between there.
Well, in terms of prospect rankings, I kind of create my own ranking in my head about where these guys are. It's still early, but also I do lean towards the tankathon stuff, and just as a general bookmarker, so to speak. So tankathon, yeah, right now has him as 10, and ironically, him and Reed Shepherd have kind of risen together or fallen together. I think at one point they were 6 and 7. Now they're 9 and 10.
Yeah, I think the thing with him and Shepard is that his ceiling's higher in my mind. But
Yes.
Shepard seems to be the better. If you want to have someone more rotational ready, Shepard to me seems to be the better player to do so.
Like in a sense, on this Raptors squad, I don't mind having some redundancy because we could use some point guards coming up in the pipeline, but at the same time, I lean towards Reed after watching them both just for this specific squad, and then you try to go for the guy that we all know that we probably need eventually in the next draft.
Right. No, I agree. I think both of them can play on or off the ball, so that's a good thing. But
Yes.
I just like the fact that Reed's like 6'3", like a legit.
Yeah, it's like a tiny little bit extra of size that like you can kind of get away with more. And he, yes.
But he like the guy is like, you eat
He's
some
a little bit sturdier.
All right, yeah, he can fill out. I just don't think that's about how much pasta, ground vision you feed Dillingham. He's just gonna be like, I said, Lou Williams ain't never changed from the time he was in college to now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I just look at some of the teams that are going to be around that spot. The only team that I could see him going to is probably the Spurs. They need a guard, and if the Spurs keep their pick, which is our pick, it's not going to shock me if they pick Dillingham. Because after that, maybe Atlanta, if they trade Trae Young, maybe they go with Dillingham. OKC, I don't see it. They got Shea and Case and Wallace. Why would they do that?
And they don't really need Reed as much as they would need a Dillingham.
But see, Dillingham is an interesting prospect from the standpoint, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, his prototype doesn't really exist anymore in the NBA.
No.
Like he's kind of a guy that you would see in the aughts, Steve Francis, Marbury, Allen Iverson, that type of player. Those guys don't really exist these days.
It's very much, and he has that shake and bake to his game, and
Jig crossover, another one. Like those guys don't exist nowadays. Where it's like you have the small guard could drop 40 any night. You just don't have those type of players. I mean, Brunson, there's more slow and plodding in a sense, but
he uses his footwork. He actually has really great post footwork.
Yeah, but those twitchy, athletic kind of guys that can go off for 40 and just bomb 40 points on any given night, and you just they might throw up 26 shots to get it, but they get 40 on you. That just doesn't exist in the modern day basketball. People don't build up their rosters that way. So I don't know how he fits.
Well,
Yeah.
I have one point, and then I want to hear what Coach has to say, which is that it's kind of a question to both of you. That type of player archetype, do they're exciting to watch. Do they last long and have successful careers? I'm thinking about it, not really. Because it's hard to build a team around that
It's
at that
hard
height.
because he's a ceiling. I don't know if he's a floor raiser, like you said. I think he's a ceiling raiser for a team, but I think because of more guys just shooting threes in general, like Iverson wasn't. They weren't doing that much in the late '90s and early 2000s.
No,
Not like they are today per se.
No.
So I think that's Dillingham's ticket to lasting a bit longer because we see how frail and thin. I don't mean frail and negative. We see how thin he is.
Mhm.
He's not going to be able to go up against Joel Embiid. And like, look at John Morant right now. He's hurt every single year.
Yeah,
And I had warned people 2 years ago. I said he is going to be Allen Iverson if he does not stop at trying to dunk and play as much as he does at the rim. He'll have a shortened career. He's not big.
Right. Morant's the only one of that archetype that's in today where people are building around him, and he's that twitchy type of guy. Because he was, as Coach was talking, that's who I kept thinking of. He's the only one that anyone builds a team around. That's the reason why when we were having the Scoot discussion last year, I was like, the Scoot really is. I don't know if there's a world for a Scoot to be building around. Me as my second or third.
Personally, I still think Scoot works out, but I think he works out beside the other guy that's there. Who's also athletic, twitchy, fast, because there's a lot of exciting plays that you can run with those two. If one Scoot, and Scoot, to be honest, people have been dogging him, but if you've been watching, he's actually improved throughout the year. Part of it's just health, though.
He's a talented guy. I expect him to be and the fact is, I never expect guards to be bust because they have the ball in their hand. They're going to improve.
Yes, they get the reps automatically. But I mean, to your point, I think he's been in and out of the lineup partially because of injury.
Right. It's like he got hurt in the summer league in this first game. The summer league, like, here we go.
Yeah.
Scoot's got a body type though where he can play more around the rim. I'm not so because as he gets older, he's going to put on some weight and muscle and stuff like that. Just hopefully take better care of his body.
He started out like Eric Bledsoe, basically.
With some of these thinner guys, I get worried, man, about some of them who really like to play who like to play above the rim. But Dillingham's ticket probably is going to be his 3-point shooting. He keeps that above 40%, and he's at 45%, I think, in college basketball. I can't see why it can't translate to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you guys something though. Raptors keep their pick, number 6. Dillingham's on the board. Select him or not?
Well, this kind of goes back to our other discussion, but I'll let Beyond answer first.
No, I'm just gonna say no. I don't pick him. I think there's other players there that would suit the team that you have right now a bit better. Some of the guys we've talked about before, I think would be much more useful for this roster than Dillingham. I think Dillingham would be a nice luxury to have at this point, but I think there's other areas of concern that need to be dealt with immediately.
So I guess I'll counter with 2 questions of my own. The first one is, you're assuming that we keep the pick.
I'm assuming, yes.
Okay, then I won't even ask the second question, because the other question is are you asking if I would trade it? Because I would not, if we don't keep the pick, I would not trade up to get Rob Dillingham.
No,
if that makes sense, right? So there's other prospects that I would trade up for to get into the 10 spot, and if they're there, like Ron Holland, if he happens, he's at 5th right now per Tankathon. If he was at 10th, I would try to trade up.
I agree with that. Like there's guys there, like Holland's the one I'm thinking of off the top of my head that, if he was there, I'm picking him. I'm not picking Dillingham over.
Or Cody Williams. I don't think Cody Williams will be there, but like he's.
Me too. Yeah.
But like there's just guys. There's a certain need, even Matas, right? Like we haven't really talked about him in depth, but I think what we're getting at is like we still kind of need some size on this squad, and it's just like if Rob Dillingham, it really pops in his first year, and it's like we got to have this guy on the floor. to your point, we don't want to have a Lowry Fred situation again where it's like you have two guards, small guards, and you're just trying to make it work with as much size around them, but really like, you know what I mean? So I'd stay away from it. I think it's hard to find the right guard where they're like, you know, that 6'5", twitchy, and all the things. But this is one of the things where if you're going into a rebuild, get it right.
Yeah. Well, the thing too is, let's just say they draft Dillingham and he pops right away, and you just sign quickly to a 4-year deal. People automatically go say, "Well, maybe Dillingham needs to start. Maybe we need to trade quickly." Like, I'm just saying that's a scenario that could happen, and automatically, then you're going to have a problem on your hand.
I think also too the style of play is still too similar because I don't know how much I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but Dillingham doesn't drawing fouls. I still think Dillingham is not really great at it, and quickly we know is not good at it at this point. So I think that's another concern. You have two guys like that. And it's like we need as many guys that can kind of be. I think we need more guys that can kind of get the hoop to draw fouls. Right now we got honestly, the best guy after RJ to draw fouls on this team might be actually in this case Grady. Grady seems to get the line about 4 times a game somehow by hook or crook. You're looking around like Grady's at the line again, and Scotty's getting there. He's figuring it out slowly, but I want more guys that can get to the hoop and get to the line, and we don't have enough guys like that on this team right now.
Well, so, I mean, obviously they play different. Although I would say that Cody Williams, depending on his speed, could play guard in the NBA. But say he's playing small forward, he's getting to the line almost 4 times a night. I told you guys about Ron Holland, where it's like he's getting to it 5 times at the G League, which is crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm saying, man, that's why I like
Holland. As long as you hit 80%, if you're getting to the line, that's like you're putting up points.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Holland might be. I'm not trying to get into a Holland discussion, but Holland is 35% 3-point shot away from being near the perfect fit. Probably what they need moving forward.
The Raptors.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of things that you would want. I don't think it's worth like tanking the rest of the season just to try to get Holland, but like I agree with you. He provides a lot of what you would ideally want. But based on what we've just let out the door.
Just from a skill standpoint, just now, I'm sorry, folks, I don't mean to interject, but like I just thought Kyrie Irving hit like a fadeaway jump shot for about 17 feet over TJ McCall off glass. I mean, high off glass, all that. Like it's just off backboard, clean. The strings didn't even move. I'm like, oh my gosh. You're talking about skill sets of small players. So I thought it was a good segue.
No, there's no better, arguably between. Well, Dion, you would probably know this better, but. Are him and Isaiah probably the most skilled small players? Maybe AI too. In the last 40 years,
manipulating and handling the ball, I think he and Isaiah are like 1 and 1A in my mind. When it comes to that, I think obviously he's got. I think finishing around the hoop, I think he's a little bit better than Isaiah. I mean, statistically, he says so, but I think both of them are probably the most creative guys around the hoop for their size. Like they'll find angles and ways to finish that you just didn't expect that most guys don't. So I think, Kyrie, for that standpoint, like he just posted up a man from 17 feet and just went off glass like Tim Duncan fading away. It was all net. I was like, sorry, I had to say, like, you're kidding me. And TJ played damn good defense. He held them. He got him away from the ball the first time. He repositioned himself and got the post up. I was like, oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry, gentlemen.
No.
Discussion or the Dillingham discussion?
No, the Dillingham discussion actually, because that's a good segue back to Dillingham. Is that I think the thing is that if you have a guy like Dillingham, right? I don't project him to be anywhere near the offensive, powerhouse that Kyrie is. And so if you're that height and you're not that, it's like that. It's just tough.
Right, and it's important to have this because one of the issues that you hear people talk about with him is shot selection. Right, yes. He's a bit of a gunner.
Because Kyrie can get away with that.
Right,
he's just like, oh my goodness, right?
it warms my heart in some ways, but I know it's one of those things where it's like that gorgeous girl, you know it's trouble. It's like, this is not gonna end well. He's kind of like that. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm so fine, but I know this is not gonna end well.
So
I
Like,
enjoy
because even with the defensive liabilities that Kyrie presents, it's just like there's something about his game where it's just like it's tantalizing, right?
and Dillingham the same way where it's like, I
Coach
know
is
this is not
cracking
gonna
up.
end. I know it's not gonna end well. I know we
beyond
can
my
be here. I can be outside here. I like
See, I'm using all the same terminology too.
boom box out here with the rain. Like it can't end well. I just think they're going, but like man, you can't help it. Like Dillingham, it made my heart just watching the highlights of watching this season. He's an old school player in that sense. I know in this world with statistics and how to get the most efficient shot, he ain't that. But if you want to go get popcorn and enjoy yourself for 2 hours, he's that.
Yes, he will put butts in seats. But again, I think right now we might need to stay away. We take take the better advice.
Stay away, man. Stay away.
Stay away. So I think that kind of covers a lot of Rob Dillingham. Exactly. I think he will be a good prospect, maybe not the best for us, but the Spurs, here's the other thing. With a small player like that, if you have a good backline defender, you can get away with that too.
Oh, yeah. He makes sense for the Spurs.
Not so much with us. So, there's a lot of things that I like about his game more than Reed Sheppard, but if I was on the board and both players were there, I'd probably lean towards Reed Sheppard overall on this squad if those were my options. But overall, I would probably trend away for the Raptors side of things from both of them.
Who's the safest pick? Are you saying Reed Sheppard's the safest pick?
Between the two of them, yeah. Yeah. That height thing is a concern. Sorry, Beyond.
I'm just saying, never trust a crossover and smile, man.
Yeah. It's good. Sage words of advice. So listen, Masai, you got to watch Basketball Rewind more is what we're basically telling you. With that
everyone's in the spaces. They're all in the spaces.
That's true.
You might as well watch our show.
That's true. That's true. You're one step away. Don't make it 6 degrees of separation, Masai. Come on down. The other thing, just to cap it off, is that we're also seeing other guys on Kentucky kind of rise. So I'm not going to try to pronounce the guy's name. Someone said that he's not from Croatia, although Tankathon says that he's from Croatia. The center. Yeah.
Yeah, he was impressive yesterday too. Actually, I like his movement and defense.
Yeah. So I would be on the lookout for that guy as well, especially for our second, the second rounder that we have. I definitely think that a big man will work at that spot. Have someone in the prospect, coming up, and if they really pop, well, we at least have 2 guys already on the roster, presumably, that will, you can move someone to make the room and not worry about, hey, I need some sort of level of size.
Right.
So yeah. Any final parting shots about Kentucky's finest? Since this is going to be a very Kentucky centered draft season.
Oh, and there's more than just like Dillingham too. I mean,
we already covered Reed Sheppard.
Yes, Sheppard at Justin Edwards.
Justin Edwards, DJ. It keeps going. So yeah, if there's, but any other thoughts on Kentucky guards specifically?
That game is poison.
Yes. No more small guards, people. We don't want to go from the T that was Vision 6'9" to Vision 6'0". So, so with that being said, it's been Basketball Rewind. It's been a good episode, draft episode. I'm starting to pump these out, so I've just uploaded the Reed Sheppard one. Haven't published it yet, but it will be published by the time this comes out. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep checking the episodes out. Enjoy, and enjoy the rest of the season. Take care, people. Peace.